Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 48. Andrew Eisen here, along with me, Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. And Andrew's sinuses, hello to you too.
Oh, yeah, I've got all the sinuses. I have a massive headache, and my stomach aches because I'm draining into my stomach. So I've got a nice little pool of mucus sloshing around in my guts. It's really, really unpleasant. It's hard to breathe. So
Yeah.
at least I don't have to work this weekend, so I can just sit. I actually just beat Bayonetta an hour ago, so
Nice.
that's done. Um, there are I could go through the game again and play it on different difficulties and try to platinum all of the levels and earn enough Halos currency to unlock new costumes, but as I mentioned last week, I'm not very good at the game. I mean, I beat it
Yeah.
and everything, but I pretty much just got I got a couple platinum medals. I did earn the in-game trophy for 10 platinums, and I think I ended up with like 14 or 15. But
Yeah.
I'm just not very good at Bayonetta. Um, so I'll probably my sister should be back in a week or two. I think I'll hang off on starting up Bayonetta 2 until she gets here because um, I know she wants to see it.
Yeah.
Um, what else have I been doing? Oh, I checked out the demo of Prey from
Okay.
Bethesda, and I have to say,
I know what
you don't have an Xbox One or a PS4, right?
no, I don't.
Okay, so
I know what game you're talking about and a
here's the
little
weird thing. There's a demo for Prey for the it's called Prey, the first hour, the opening hour, or something like that. And I'm leaking. Sorry. Um, and it's available on PS4 and PS2. I'm sorry, PS4 and Xbox One, but not on PC. And I didn't actually see this, but what I heard was that people were like, "Hey, Bethesda, what gives? Where's the PC demo?" And apparently, and again, I did not double check this, but apparently Bethesda says, "You know what? Just buy the game, and if you don't like it, refund it." There's your demo. Like, I don't think Valve appreciates that, but from the
well,
consumer perspective, I
I don't know.
suppose that.
Does the demo have less than 2 hours of content? Because that's Valve's
Um,
cutoff point is
well,
play more than two
yeah.
hours,
Well,
you
the thing
don't get
about
a
the demo
refund.
is it actually just kind of locks a few doors. It's like this door is unlocked in the full game, so you can get to the end of the demo, but it doesn't just like go to a thank you for playing screen. You can still just kind of wander around the areas that you have access to, so
Hmm.
you can keep wandering around. But here was my observation of Prey. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is a an opening reveal that is, if you do it right, um and I don't want to spoil how you could do it wrong, but if you do it right and you hit the reveal the way the developers intend you to hit the reveal, it is a really, really good reveal. So Prey has an excellent opening.
Hmm.
It does this opening reveal really well. It does nothing else very well, and that made me very sad. Um, the it reminds me a lot of the Skyrim game. I'm sorry, the Elder Scrolls games, which have been progressively getting better. But I don't like the Elder Scrolls game because the combat sucks. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. It's not satisfying. And Prey has the exact same problem. Huh, Bethesda, same company. Bethesda, stop doing first person combat. You're terrible at it. Um, it just smacking things with a wrench or the gunplay. It does not feel right. You never feel like you're really. You feel like you're just kind of waving things at stuff, and you
Yeah.
never really feel like anything else is connecting with you. It's all in the feel. It doesn't feel right. The load times are I don't know what they're on the PC, but on the PS4 they are incredibly long. I mean, like it's got to be like 50 seconds a minute, and then it hits a second loading screen. It's like it's loading a loading screen. It is so weird. Um, there's a lot of technical issues. I guess par for the course with Bethesda. Um, Although there was one thing that I thought was a bug, and then when I thought back about it, I'm like, oh no, because of the reveal, that's oh okay, I see why that actually wasn't a bug. That was a
Yeah.
result of the reveal. But I don't know. Maybe the game comes together after the opening bit. I do like the setup. I like the premise.
Yeah.
But the combat is not doing it for me at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of the just mechanics of the game do not work for me, which makes it kind of a pain to play. It's one of those games that, for me, gets in the way of itself. Kind of like Metal Gear Solid games. You'll be
Hmm.
playing, you'll be having fun, and then the game wants to stop and say, "No, no, no! Put down the controller. I'm going to tell you a story now." It's like, no, I don't want to hear your stupid story. I want to play the game. It's fun. Um, Prey is kind of like that, where you're exploring this environment, trying to figure out what's going on, and suddenly enemies. You're like, "No, go away, stupid enemies! I'm busy looking at stuff." Um, Oh, here's another thing. The music cues are wrong. You know how when there
Hmm.
are enemies in the room, the music gets all intense and starts, and it doesn't know when to shut off. I kill all the enemies, and it's still. I'm like, is there another enemy around? And
Did I
I'm
miss
looking
somebody?
around for an enemy hiding somewhere, and then I'm like, oh, okay. Either there was an enemy and it ran away, or the music was like, oh, there's no more enemies. Okay, we'll just fade out.
Well, maybe they start the loop, and then instead of killing the song in the middle of the loop, they just let the loop continue going until the end, which is kind of a stupid thing to do. But,
Oh, Matthew says the music stuff is fixed in the final game. Cool. Glad to hear
oh,
that. Hello,
nice.
Seraph.
Yeah.
Um,
So
did,
13U Cube mentioned Metroid 2 for the Game Boy, and he wishes to play
uh,
it in color. It's kind of way
hmm.
back up there,
Well,
but
it's yeah.
just to let you know, you can play it in color and not using a Super Game Boy. You have to get a Game Boy Color and play it on that. They built a color palette into the hardware of the Game Boy
Mm,
Color specifically for Metroid 2. So check that out if you if you've got one of those. Because I remembered that there was something about it. I thought maybe it was built in for the Super Game Boy or the Game Boy Color, but no, it was the Game Boy Color itself had the palette on it, and so it knew if you were playing Metroid 2 to load in that palette rather than the default color palette that they use for all games. So that was really cool. Um, but yeah,
Sarah,
a
Sarah,
full color
stop
re-release would
spamming
be
the chat,
awesome.
please.
But a full color re-release of Metroid 2 would be awesome. I would play that to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. First topic, actually, very close to what I was already talking about, is remember back when Mojang, Minecraft, um, is trying to was making that little game called Scrolls, and then
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda, or its parent company ZeniMax, said, "Well, wait a minute, we own the trademark for the Elder Scrolls, which gives us exclusive rights to every single word in that phrase. So we're going to trademark claim scrolls, a common English word noun, because we own it as
Yeah.
part of the phrase, the Elder Scrolls." Uh, Mojang reached some. I think they just didn't trademark it, and they were allowed to use it. I don't remember, and I didn't look it up.
Yeah, I think
I'm evil.
they abandoned their trademark application. I
Yeah, I
believe
think
is what
that's what it
happened.
was. So there's another game coming out called Prey for the Gods, Prey, and looks to be a Shadow of the Colossus type of
Yeah.
game. And Bethesda said, "Oh, wait a minute. we have a game called Prey, so no one else on the face of the earth can actually use the word prey in any context whatsoever. Now, before you guys jump on me in the chat or the comments about how that's how trademark law works, yeah, I know. It
Well,
shouldn't
it
because it's
doesn't. It
stupid.
it, it it doesn't actually work like that. That's just the misconception.
Yeah,
You don't have to threaten to sue everybody that attempts to use something similar. That is not
yeah,
what you have to do. You have to look at every trademark that comes across that might be similar and make a judgment call. And if your judgment call is that, okay, that's fine, you can leave that alone, not threaten to sue the people. You don't even have to contact them. You could just let their trademark go through,
yeah.
and you still have your trademark. But if something does come across that is deceptively similar, then yeah, you've got to say, hey, either stop infringing our trademark or come to some deal with us. So
Yeah.
pray for the gods. They don't have to threaten to sue these guys.
What's interesting is I've researched this a bit, and it depends on which supposed trademark lawyer you hear from. And some say, "Oh no, you absolutely if you don't do this, you might lose your trademark." Which I can't find any evidence that's actually true. Like your
Yeah,
trademark lapses. Maybe
no, it
you are
doesn't.
less likely to win a trademark case if you're not studious about suing every single or
Yeah,
about every
that
single
is
usage.
the fear is
But I've
that
also heard from people that say, no, you don't have to. You don't lose marks. If you see someone else using a word that's in a phrase that you use and it's not infringing, that there's not going to be confusion, you can leave that alone. So I don't know what to believe. All I do know is whether it does work like that or doesn't, if it works like that, it shouldn't because that's stupid. But
well, and that's a product of
yeah,
patent and trademark lawyers
yeah.
who are saying, yeah, pay us tons of money to do this work that you don't really need done anyways.
So so pray for the gods. So they came to an agreement, and what it is they can still use the logo, which is actually really cool. Let me show it off. The logo looks like, where is it? It looks like this. Um, you see the E in pray is a praying woman with like a scarf and ponytail flapping in the breeze to make the
Yeah.
E. It's really neat. Bethesda says you can use this logo with the stylized E in all of your marketing. That is totally fine. However, anytime you write the pray for the gods out, the E has to be a symbol that looks like an E and an A smushed together.
Yeah, it's the same symbol used for Caesar, like when you actually write it correctly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
And the developer was like, we were thinking about doing that, to get that whole dichotomy of Prey AY and Prey EY smushed together. But that would be hard to actually type because you'd have to go into Windows Character Map and find it every time you wanted to type out the name. But you know, I'm glad they get to use their logo because I think the logo is pretty cool. And at least they do get to keep the name of
yeah,
the game. Uh,
yeah. This is kind of a funny situation because you opened up with the scrolls situation
mhm.
where Bethesda had a trademark on the word scrolls inside of a longer phrase.
Yeah,
And somebody wanted to make a game with just the single word scrolls. And now here we have the opposite, where Bethesda has the trademark on the single word, and somebody's wanting to use that word in a larger phrase. And yeah, it's just Bethesda, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I'm sorry.
yeah.
It's like pick one. Either using it in a phrase is okay and not, or whatever. It's just golly, I think they just need some better trademark lawyers because apparently they have lawyers who are just milking them for money. But yeah, they this is just kind of a dumb situation, and kudos to the developer of Pray for the Gods for not trying to make a big deal out of it and coming to a quick agreement. I don't know exactly how long this was, but by the time the story broke, Bethesda
There had
and
already
these
been an
developers
agreement
already
reached.
had
Yeah.
a deal going on. So that's cool for Bethesda and for these guys. For
Well,
what is the developer? That's the name of the developer.
let me
I,
look
I
real
can't
quick.
remember.
It's an indie,
Yeah,
so
it's an indie indie studio.
No Matter Studios, and this was
Okay.
a Kickstarted project. So,
Yeah.
um, so it's nice that Bethesda was willing to let them use the name of their game, even though it has a common English word that they happen to trademark as another title. Um,
Yeah.
because being an indie developer who had to kickstart their project, I'm pretty sure they would not have enough money to pursue this in
Oh
court.
no, they wouldn't. They would have
And
had to gotten a pro bono lawyer to take on the case, which likely likely wouldn't have happened
and that's the
because
problem with
yeah,
these types of trademark instances is the big companies hold all the power. They can afford to do crap like this because it's a
yeah,
drop in the bucket to them. Indie developers and real low budget studios, it's like, oh, well,
yeah,
if someone's going to complain, I may as well just change the name of my game because I do not have the time, money, basically the resources
yeah,
to
exactly.
pay
Yeah,
attention.
like you said, these larger companies, Bethesda, EA, Activision, they have a war chest set up. Like they have money set aside, millions of dollars set aside specifically to fight lawsuits, whether they're the aggressor or the defender. It's like there's money for them. They've got
Yeah,
lawyers on retainer, and they've got everything set up where they can drag on a case for years and it wouldn't hurt their bottom line. Whereas an indie company, that's making less than $100,000 a year, they're going to die within the first week of trying to retain a lawyer for this. But yeah, it's ridiculous. We do need some trademark, uh, all kinds of IP. Reform in the U.S.
yeah,
Trademark is one of them, one of the big areas, but well, all of them are pretty large. Trademark, patent, and copyrights. Everything needs reformed.
yeah,
Um, but 13U Cube asks the question,
yeah.
McDonald's does have a trademark on Big Mac,
Mhm.
but they can't sue Nintendo for calling one of their game characters Little Mac because one, Nintendo's not seeking a trademark on Little Mac, and two, it's totally different industries. So trademarks are industry specific. When you fill out a trademark application, you have to say exactly what industries you're using this trademark in. So Big Mac or McDonald's would go there, fill out the application for Big Mac, and put in food, restaurants, and other related things. Whereas, but they wouldn't use Big Mac for video games because they're not making a Big Mac video game.
Yeah. Well, end of story. I don't mind companies, at least from my perspective, protecting their trademarks aggressively. What I mind is being stupid.
Yeah,
So,
and
and
Bethesda tends to be stupid on trademark.
in my opinion, and several other people's, yeah.
You know,
So, okay, moving on. Greybox Studios, who's the company is making RIME, which is a game that's coming out on Sony and Microsoft consoles and the Switch just
yeah,
after everything else. And there was some hoopla going on that the Switch version was going to be $10 more than every other version. Both the physical and the digital would be $10 more. So, so the um, so the whole, well, physical carts are more expensive. It's like, really? Well, then why is the digital version $10 more expensive too? So Greybox wrote a blog post earlier in the week saying that, okay, here's the deal. We're going to drop the digital price $10. The physical copy is still going to be $10 more expensive than every other one, but it will come with a code to download the original soundtrack, which we're selling for $10. So we're still it's still $10 more, but at least you get an extra $10 of value as long as you value the OST at $10.
hmm
So that's nice. Oh, unless you live in Australia, because up yours, Australia, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
Australia is it's $10 more whether it's physical or digitally, and it's like $67 Australian or some absurd. There's $79 Australian.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
the
don't know what
Australian.
Australia ever did to the rest of the world that makes everybody hate them so much.
It's
But
it's not other companies. It's
yeah,
one, the value of the Australian dollar, and
yeah,
two, all the stupid taxes that and tariffs that Australia charges to foreign companies to bring electronics and media to the nation. And so if you want to hate somebody for the high prices of video games in Australia, blame the Australian government because
but
that's where the problem lies.
right, but if you
And
do live in Australia, the Switch is region free, so go ahead and buy it from the U.S. Or European eShop. Hee hee, it's $10 cheaper. Um, the chat's pointing out that retailers don't like it when digital is cheaper. You always wonder. It's like, well, okay, there's
yeah,
cost to making a physical product, so why is the digital and physical the same exact price? Wouldn't the digital version be cheaper because they don't have to print out the paper inserts and buy the cases and print the disc and blah 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 blah? Yes, but Walmart would be pissy if it had to compete with digital storefronts, and until we
yeah,
go all digital, they're going to almost always keep pricing parity due to the retailers.
yeah, and that's
Because if
yeah,
Walmart refuses to stock your game, you may as well not have a retail release.
exactly. Yeah, Walmart's the biggest retailer. They beat out GameStop for game sales,
Yeah, GameStop
and
too.
so, but yeah, it's that's one of the it's one of the reasons why we had the whole Vita issue, or the PSP Go was the problem, where everything was supposed to be digital with the PSP Go, and then yeah, that got killed real quick because of retailer blowback. I assume, but yeah, because the PSP Go could have been a great system.
Mm.
You never know, but they didn't have uh, anything physical to sell, and that's why the Vita sold all the games on the little memory sticks, even though everything was digital download too. So
Yeah. So, uh, Jordan says Australia games cost more and are ultra censored. I don't see how the PAL region survived this long because at least it's something.
yeah,
But in these days, with we're going global, and we've got internets and the cloud and region free stuff, so it's not as much of a problem as it used to be decades ago. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's more expensive, yeah, it's censored, but it's either that or no game.
hmm
So luckily, we have a lot more options.
yeah,
Yes, GameStop is still in business and
yeah.
doing
It's like
fine.
they're one of only three major game retailers in my area, and one of them's because we got GameStop, Vintage Stock, and Game Exchange. But Game Exchange is on its last legs, and then you've got a few like locally owned game stores, but
Yeah. Remember
not up
Babbage's?
here where I am. I don't remember Babbage's, but I do
EB
remember EB
Games.
Games
Yeah.
and oh, what was the other one? Funko, uh, or Funko Land, or something like that. I forget what it was. Something along those lines. That was where I bought my first video game was at a Funko Land. I think that's what it was called. But eventually, everything or almost everything was bought by GameStop, and now GameStop is the monster in the room.
Scotty, how is getting the game from the US eShop more expensive? Is that a weird quirk of the American dollar or the Australian dollar difference? Oh, because the Australian eShop costs includes a GST tax, the US eShop doesn't. But if you're not paying the tax, wouldn't it be cheaper? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
So I'm just sorry that Australia is constantly screwed in pricing and a lot of times with content.
Yeah,
'Cause
they still get
they
screwed with
still have
content.
that the censorship board that refuses classification. This rarely happens anymore, but sometimes they get
Yeah.
to stick up their butt
Well,
about,
once
oh,
they finally got their R18 rating, they stopped
yeah,
banning
but
games as often.
right, but they still have the ability to refuse
Hmm.
classification, which is something I have long said I completely disagree with. But
Oh yeah.
all right, next topic. Square Enix said bye bye to IO Interactive, the Hitman developer. Um, that
This is kind of an interesting development because
yeah,
Hitman is one of their more popular franchises.
well, you remember back Hitman Absolution back in 2012, I think,
Is that the one where
was
there was the evil ninja nuns or something in the advertisement?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was among the several games from that year that Square Enix was talking about underperforming. That and Tomb Raider, I think, because Hitman Absolution was reported about being a disappointment, having sold only 3.6 million. It's
Hmm.
like, guys, if you're selling 3.6 million and losing money and it's a major disappointment, you're doing something wrong here. The new Hitman, which has been doing that episodic thing for the last year, I haven't seen any sales numbers, but critically, it has been very, very well received. And my first thought was, well, I guess it didn't sell very well. But then I remembered the whole, uh, you know, Hitman did 3.6, and that was a disappointment. Tomb Raider did like 5 million and was a disappointment. I think Deus Ex was that year and was like 2 or 3 million and was a disappointment. I think Square Enix is just never happy.
No, they aren't.
Either
If it
that or
doesn't sell 10
either that
million
or
copies, then it's a failure.
yeah, either that or they really need to take a hard look at how they're spending their money. If they're managing to sell multiple millions of copies of the game and still be in the red, something's got to change there.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't done the math, but yeah, they should be, depending on how much they're spending. They should be able to break even after a couple of million sales. But yeah, apparently Square Enix spends way more than they need to, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they need
Yeah,
to just fire some high-paid managers or
yeah,
something.
maybe. Matthew says they lost 43 million on Hitman. I could be wrong, but I think they just lost 43 million. I don't think it was specifically on Hitman. They just had a loss of 43 million in the last fiscal year. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
maybe
43 million is a lot to lose on a single game or
I
franchise.
yeah,
That's
I don't know if you could manage to do that. I mean, again, if you manage to lose $43 million on a game, wow, did you underestimate something or
yeah,
overestimate something? Um,
yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's not the fact that they're losing money on Hitman. They're just not making as much money as they were desiring from Hitman. So they were like, our goal is to make $200 million off of Hitman. Oh no, we only made 180 million. We lost $20 million on
maybe
this
yeah,
franchise.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. If you are counting on a game to sell 10 or 15 million copies, unless you're Activision coming out with this year's Call of Duty or EA with this year's Madden, probably not. I mean,
Yeah,
Madden and Call
that's
of Duty pulls up the 10 plus million numbers year in year out for the most part. You are not do not I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not in the industry, but if you want my advice, and you don't, but I'm going to give it anyway, do not run your business expecting any game to sell over 10 million copies.
yeah. Especially Hitman isn't a massive franchise like Call of Duty or
It's not
Battlefield or
exactly
Madden.
niche,
Yeah, it's
but
not niche,
yeah,
but it's because of the nature of the game. It's a strictly single player
right.
game, I
It's a
believe.
very
Uh,
patient stealth game.
yeah, you can't. There's the audience isn't as broad as some of these franchise titles out there, and yeah, you've got to really focus on appealing to that niche and making a game that they like, that they will actually buy. Because if your niche isn't buying the game, there's no way you're going to reach outside of it.
And
So
that's kind of the problem a lot of times when you have a um, not exactly a niche game, but a game for a specific type of gamer. I'm thinking specific. I don't know why it just popped into my head, but remember Dead Space? Dead Space is a horror game, a
yeah,
survival horror game, and survival horror fans loved it. And EA was like, "Let's make a sequel." But we want to sell more than just 1.5 million or 2 million, or I have no idea what the hell Dead Space sold. But they're like, we want to sell more than whatever the hell Dead Space sold. So let's make what's popular right now. Gears of War. So okay, let's put a lot of more shooty stuff and make whatever the dude's name, Isaac, I think his name is. Let's make him more agile so he can spin around and shoot behind him and duck and weave and put in some chest high walls to hide behind. And so it was. So Dead Space 2 was an action horror game and sold pretty damn well. I think mostly off of the goodwill of the first game. And then they said, "Oh my God, make a third one!" And then they just went full bore. Dead Space 3 is a action game, full bore action game with some horror elements and a lot of stupid microtransactions.
yeah,
And it didn't do very well. And because you got in trying to expand the audience, you lost what made the game special in the first place. And it's always good to try and expand your audience and get new people into your game, but there's a very fine line. You have to be
yeah.
very careful you don't looking for the right word here. Well, it's not the right word, but aggravate or put off your core fans.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah,
Resident Evil 4 struck a really good balance of being very actiony and campy and fun, but still being a survival horror game. There were a lot of quiet moments. You did have to do resource management, but then you get into Resident Evil 5 and it's just a full-on action game.
yeah,
And I haven't played 6 yet, but
yeah. And and going back to Hitman though, looking at, as I think about games that kind of fit that genre, like what people, what other games people like Hitman series would want to play, things like Thief come to mind. Thief is another game very
yeah.
similar in tone and gameplay to Hitman. But then you've got something like Assassin's Creed, which you would think Assassin's Creed would be a lot more similar to Hitman than it is, but it's not. It's a very actiony game. Yeah, there's some stealth elements to it, but you're doing a lot of action. You're fighting groups of enemies, and as you make your way to your target that you're going to kill, and then you kill that target in more of an actiony way. Whereas with Hitman, you go in there and you kill the guy with bad sushi, or stuff like that. It's very much a Hitman game, whereas Assassin's Creed is more of a brawler with a target at the end of the level. So, but yeah, so Assassin's Creed does sell tens of millions of copies with most releases, but it's a very different market than Hitman, even though the games objectively are in a similar market bracket.
And I think that's probably the key for any company is not make every game the most broadly appealing game possible, but have a diverse portfolio of games. You have your Call of Duty big welcoming action shooty game that everybody loves, but you can also have the specific stealth game and the specific strategy game and you have the big one that sells to everybody, and then you have the more narrowly focused genres, survival horror or strategy simulation or stealth game, things like that.
Yeah.
Of course, that's really difficult for a independent developer who has one game.
Yeah, the independent developers are a totally different thing. They tend to find a niche that that does well for them and stick with it.
Right, but a
And a
lot of
lot of
independent developers really do realize that, okay, I'm making a survival horror. It's not going to appeal to everyone, but I'm going to make the best damn survival horror I
oh
can.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
survival horror fans are going to eat it up. And that's the important thing because,
hmm
yeah. So, all right.
yeah,
Skipping ahead to another topic, and this is one you suggested, is Alan Wake is being delisted from the digital storefronts. It's actually on
yeah.
sale on PC or Steam right now for
Steam, yeah.
like really really cheap. So if you want it, go get it. Uh, but why is it being delisted? Apparently, the license for the music in the game, the licenses for the music in the game, is has expired. And it's like,
Or is
did you
about
guys
to, yeah.
were you not that forward thinking? I mean, it seems to me that if you're going to make a video game and you're going to license music for the video game, if at all possible, you would say, okay, I'm good as long as as long as I'm selling this video game. Can't use the music for anything else, but anytime I want to sell the video game, I've licensed the music for the video game. It seems weird that you would sign a contract. It's like, okay, I can only sell my video game for 3 years, and then I can't sell it anymore because I can only use the music for that long. That seems unnecessarily limiting to me.
Yeah, it definitely is. This story kind of caught me by surprise because one, I haven't played Alan Wake before. It's a game that's been on my radar, but just I've got so many games out there that I want to play, and I don't own this one, so it's like never going to get around to playing it. But yeah, when you think of licensed music, you tend to think of games like Dance Dance Revolution and Guitar Hero, and you don't really think of something like Alan Wake. And so I read the story and I was like, really? And yeah, I had the exact same question, and frankly, everybody has the same question. What reason did you have for not buying a perpetual license for the music? Because movies all the time they buy a perpetual license for music. Sometimes you have regional conflicts with licensed music, but for video games, video games you probably have the same thing regional wise. But why wouldn't you get a perpetual license? And frankly, I don't think Remedy has an answer for that. At least not that I can tell. Um, but yeah, you would love to find out. But yeah, they're going to have to just stop selling the game. Now they're not going to take the game away from you if you own a copy of it. It's yours to keep forever. They're not going to patch out the music in a mandatory patch or anything. But it's just after the 10th. Let's see, the 13th of May is when the sale starts. But yeah, after the game gets delisted, nobody's going to be able to buy it unless you're buying a used physical copy somewhere, um, which which I guess is going to be the only thing you can do after this.
Uh,
Um,
Matthew, Call of Duty is going to have sales, have a lot less sales than that for it to go the way of the dodo. I mean, even if it was down 50% over the previous version, it still sold like 20 million copies across all platforms. It's not going anywhere. Matthew also mentions that Alan Wake came out before digital was big on consoles. It was a Xbox era game, so they weren't
yeah,
expecting to sell it this long after release. Don't matter. It's just still not very forward thinking.
yeah, it's not. I guess if you're thinking of doing just a single print run, like a physical print run, yeah, you probably say, okay, we're making a deal, we're printing X number of copies of the game, and that's all we need the music for. But then you go and start doing digital, I guess. you know, yeah, that's where things start getting dicey. And yeah, you would think that yeah they would, once they started going digital, they would realize, oh wait, if we're going digital, we're going to have to rethink this license. And why didn't they go in and renegotiate the license after they started selling the game digitally?
Well,
Um,
maybe it was too difficult because I don't know what the music in Wake is if they have like 20 different licensees. Yeah, like they just license all kinds of
uh,
from all kinds of
they
different.
probably don't. It's
I would
probably a single
find it hard to believe.
conglomerate that they license from, because that's typically how licensed music works. Is you go to like ASCAP, which is that's typically a business, like if you're going to play music over the loudspeaker type thing. But so there's a licensing agency like ASCAP that you would go and say, hey, we need to license some music for X media, and we need to do this. And yeah, so there is somebody that they could go to get a blanket license for all the tracks they're wanting to use. But maybe they thought about it and just decided that renegotiating that license was just going to be too costly for their projected sales on digital, and they
Yeah.
just said screw it. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, it's possible that they said, okay, we want a perpetual license. They said, okay, fine, it'll be this much. And they're like, okay, that's way too expensive. Alan Wake is not going to be around that long, so 3-year license or whatever the hell they bought would be fine. I mean, it's just a shame. I think really the saddest thing is this is how we lose parts of our culture because it's licensing fees. Because we
Yeah,
lose a license to a portion of a work, and now we can't enjoy the work anymore. Alan Wake may be lost to time after a while because of music licensing.
yeah,
And there are a lot of media, not just video games, that can no longer be sold because various
yeah,
pieces are the licensor doesn't exist anymore, and weird stuff like that. So.
yeah. But okay, but I did find in their community forums, they did do a quick Q&A about this,
Oh, all right.
and it says, will you bring Alan Wake back to stores? And it says, we are looking into relicensing the music for Alan Wake, but have no time frame for this.
Yeah.
And it
Alan
says,
Wake will return, but it's going to be very, very quiet.
and this is what happens to
Atmospheric.
Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and slash will other Alan Wake SKUs also disappear? And it says Alan Wake's American Nightmare will remain in stores. Remedy negotiated the music licensing for Alan Wake's American Nightmare. We did not negotiate the licensing for Alan Wake's licensed music. So they, I get, because American Nightmare is the newer version, or the newer game, they they properly negotiated a license for those, but yeah, but they didn't bother doing it for the other one. So yeah,
Mhm.
so we don't know if they're ever going to come back with the Alan Wake or anything. So looks like I don't know. It looks like I'll be buying the game used if I want to actually play
Yeah,
it at some point.
but Matthew
Uh,
says it won't be lost. The copy is staying on Steam. Yeah, but if it's delisted and no one can buy it, then it may as well be lost.
yeah, if
We're
it's
just going to have to rely on physical copies floating out there somewhere. It'll probably come back someday. There
yeah,
are still some. There are initiatives to archive digital media these days, and that includes video games. Of course, and they're trying to make it so that the licensing won't matter for archival purposes. We can still at least keep a copy for archival purposes
yeah.
regarding licenses.
Yeah, but you're not, if you buy it on Steam right now, you're not going to lose it. It
Yeah,
is your copy of the game
yeah, and you can
until the day Steam
re-download it.
dies.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just delisted and unavailable to
you
buy.
just can't buy it after that day,
Right.
after it's delisted.
And I don't mean like
And I'm not in a game buying mood right now, so I'm not going to bother spending
right.
$3 on it.
Exactly.
You
When I
know,
say
'cause-
lost, I don't mean tomorrow or right after. Oh, it's gone for good. No, I mean years down the road. Because there are games from the '80s and earlier that we just can't find anymore.
Oh yeah,
which
there's
is
tons
sad.
of games out there that
And movies from there is a ton of film that we have lost. That's just completely gone, and that's really sad. 13U Cube for some reason asks, "What's the difference between $2.99 and $3.99 franchise?" $1.
I think he's referring to. I'm doing a quick search on Steam Powered real quick to see what comes up when I type in Alan Wake. But okay, Alan Wake American Nightmare is on sale as well for $3.99. So American Nightmare is
Was that
the
an
newer one.
expansion or a
It's
sequel? What was that?
It says a thrilling new storyline, hordes of creepy enemies, serious firepower, and beautiful Arizona locations combined with a fun and challenging new game mode. So I'm assuming it's an updated version of Alan Wake or a sequel of some sort.
Yeah, it seems to me it was a expansion. But Alan Wake was the writer dude where you shine flashlights at ghost monsters, right? I think that's what the mechanic was.
Yeah, it's a standalone. It says it's a standalone experience. Fights evil monsters, yada yada yada. But
standalone.
The 391.99 one is the one that's still going to be alive after this after Alan Wake is delisted. So, but yeah. So if you want the first one, buy it now. If you don't care, then I guess buy American Nightmare later on.
Yeah, I don't know. Alan Wake never really said you must play.
It never really appealed to me. I'm not a huge horror fan, but
I don't even know anyone who goes to bat for that game. I know people have like, I played it. Yeah, it's all right. I've never. Oh man, it's good. I've never heard anyone say that. I'm sure it has its fans, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's got mostly positive ratings, so that's her very. The first one has very positive, and then American Nightmare has mostly positive. So yeah, so it's a very people who play the game like the game, but I don't think it has a rabid fan base like a lot of franchises do. So.
Yeah, very few E3 predictions are going to be more Alan Wake. Although
probably not. Yeah.
Of course, I'm the guy that's like, I predict another Tenchu game because although it's been like, I think the one on the Wii, Stealth Assassins, I think that was the last Tenchu game. Acquire. I think it's Acquire. It starts with an A. I'm pretty sure the developer of the Tenchu games. I think they also do Way of the Samurai or something like that. I like Tenchu. Some of them are actually kind of terrible, but a lot of them are really fun. 13U Cube going through GameCube and Wii games in the backlog. Never played Mario Sunshine or Luigi's Mansion. Be interested to see what you think of those games. Well, some people really hate Mario Sunshine. I love Mario Sunshine. I think it's better than the Galaxy games.
I still haven't. The Mario games are games that I just don't play a lot. I've got some of them. I just don't play them very often. I do like the new Super Mario Brothers series, the 4-player. That's a lot of fun. I like that. But my copy got scratched in a way that I can't actually play it. I've gotten it resurfaced, but it didn't help because the gash is pretty deep, and so I was very disappointed. I was on World 6 when that happened, and made me very upset. But yeah, I've got tons of GameCube and Wii games in my backlog. I got PS2 games in my backlog. And some PlayStation 1 games. I've got some Xbox games that I'm still trying, or Xbox 360 games I'm still trying to play. I don't have a Dreamcast or an original Xbox to play anything, to deal with a backlog for those. But eventually I will, because there's several games that I want to play on those systems. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm looking over at my shelf and my shelf of games I still need to play or finish, and there's stuff going all the way back to the GameCube, but most of it's PS3 games that I've been buying. Uh, Not sure
Yeah.
what I'll play between Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. I think I might try Vanquish because I'm just kind of in that platinum actiony mood, and that actually just came out for
Okay.
or it was announced at least for PC. So people who've
Yeah.
been crying for PC ports of Bayonetta and Vanquish have had a very nice month. Um,
Yeah.
so did
Yeah. I've
everyone
got
read?
the.
Oh, God.
Oh no, I've got the Devil May Cry collector's edition, digital version.
Mm.
So it's the first three
Is
Devil
that the
May Cry
remake or is
games.
that the? Oh,
No,
okay.
it's the first three ones, and so I might play those at some point. That might be one of my next titles to play, just because I played the first one. I really liked it. It has a frantic action and stuff, so it was a lot of fun. But I never got around to playing the other two. But
Yeah.
and then yeah, there's the DMC game. I don't know what that one's deal is, but
I
yeah.
It looks cool. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
not too attached to Dante, the original Dante,
Hmm.
um, which I wasn't, so I saw DMC. I'm like, it looks neat. I like the level shifty round effect that it does.
Yeah.
Well, I was asking those. Did everyone read the silly comments that I had for my YouTube video
Oh
the
yeah,
other day?
I read the screen capture you posted to
Yeah.
Facebook. I had to laugh because it's just like I don't like your reviews, so here's my bad my review of your reviews, and
Yeah, so most
okay.
of you probably are aware that I'm doing a series of YouTube videos called Debut Review, where I review the debut episode of all this season's new anime shows. And someone took particular exception to what I was doing, and wrote a several paragraph comment talking
And it's
about,
a great comment, guys.
oh
You
yeah, I
really got
mean,
to read it.
talking about how I'm with my video series destroying the entire medium of anime.
Yes,
I'm like,
Andrew with his 200 viewers is single-handedly destroying the anime
I
industry.
think the anime
And
industry will be able to weather 100 people watching my lukewarm review of Kato the right answer. um, and 13UQ points out he also called me pig meat.
yeah,
Yeah,
apparently
like a
this guy
sack
is
of
under the
pig meat or
impression
something.
that apparently this guy is under the impression that you have to watch the entire season of an anime before you're allowed to make a review of that anime.
Well,
At least that's the message I'm
that's
getting
part of
from
it. He
him.
seemed to be upset that I was passing judgment on the entire thing based on the opening episode, which is not what I'm doing. I'm passing judgment on the opening episode based on the
Yeah.
opening episode. Really, the conceit of the series is really an examination of how successful the first episode of a series is at convincing me to keep watching.
Hmm.
Which is an angle that I'm sure probably a million other people do, but it's one I haven't seen before, and it also gives me a excuse to just try a bunch of new anime.
Yeah.
Now, normally, unless the show really sucks, I typically give a show a couple of episodes to see what it's doing, see where it's going. I mean, and unless I find the first episode really boring or really repugnant somehow, I usually give any television show that's several episodes, up into the 20 episodes long, I usually give it a couple episodes just to see where it's going.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's a number of shows that I've done that before. Like Gotham is a show that I even gave Gotham an entire season to really because I was in this kick of like if it was superheroes I was going to watch it, but then I watched
Yeah.
the entire season of first season of Gotham and I was just like, why did I do this? I should never have watched all of this garbage. And for some reason, it's getting a fourth season, and it boggles my mind. But then a show like Powerless came on, and
Which got canceled.
which got canceled, and rightly so because the show is absolutely boring.
Yeah.
It is, I I watched the first 3 episodes, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done. And then the past couple of days, I was kind of bored, so I pulled up NBC's website, and they had every episode available except for one that I missed, and I was just like, yeah, I'll finish off the rest of the season just to see what happens. And I'm like, yeah, it's still exact same boring garbage. And Danny Pudi, I'm sorry, his talents are wasted on that show. And I don't really care for Vanessa Hudgens either. Yeah. And Alan Tudyk is another wasted actor on that show too.
Matthew is dreaming of a PC port of Skies of Arcadia. That would be great. More people should play that game. It's really wonderful. It's one of my favorite RPGs.
Yeah, that's a game that's on my wish list for games to play.
Yeah, play Legends. Don't play the GameCube port because, well, one, it's got some additional content, but they also dialed back the absurd enemy encounter rate, which I hear in Dreamcast was like every 5 steps. You're like, okay, finish the battle. Oh, come on! Don't you hate when you see a treasure chest
GameCube
at the opposite end of a room and you run for the treasure chest and right before you get to the chest,
that happens in all RPGs. It drives me nuts. But yeah, the GameCube version was the one that I was planning on picking up because the extra content. But yeah, there's tons of RPGs that I want to get, and I don't have the time to play them all.
That's the thing is most RPGs are at least 40 hours long.
Yeah,
not a lot longer. It's
like I've been playing Grandia on my PSP, and I've kind of taken a break from it right now because I've clocked nearly 60 hours into it already, and I'm towards the end of the game, but I've got my last party member, the final party member for the game, and I've got to do some leveling up for her because she comes in, I guess if you aren't power leveling through the rest of the game, she comes in at the same base level as where everybody else is, but because I was power leveling everybody else, she comes in severely underpowered, and so I'm having to power her up some, and it takes a while, and I'm just not in the mood to do that at the moment.
Yeah. So, if you wake up tomorrow and anime is just gone, I'm very sorry. I guess it was my fault, as 13U Cube says, it's my damn clout.
Yeah, but and honestly, I don't get the issue. There was
honestly, I think my guess is it's just someone who's a bit butthurt that I didn't like a show as much as he does.
Yeah, well, there was a similar flap a while back when I think it was Polygon didn't play a video game all the way through, and then wrote a bad review because they didn't like the first half of the game, and they were like. the first half of the game is terrible. I'm not going to finish playing it. So
yeah, I played it for 20 hours. It was boring. I don't care if it gets good at the 30-hour. What was it? Final Fantasy?
No, it was. I think it was Beyond Two Souls. I think was the game. But yeah, it's like and. I'm of the opinion, if you're playing a game for the purposes of review and you don't like the game you're playing, you've played enough. It's one thing to try to review a game for a genre that you just don't like in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I would never attempt to review a first-person shooter. Well,
I'd never review a racing game because they bore the hell out of me.
I would never review a racing game or a sports game because I just don't like them. And so it's like it wouldn't be fair, and it wouldn't be a good review. Nobody would read it because everybody would know that it's just a terrible review. But I will review other games, and if I don't, like RPGs, adventure games, those kind of things, I will play those, and I'll, if I were paid to review games, I would review more of them, and there's probably a lot that I would just say, screw it, I'm done playing it. Here's my review. So,
yeah, I mean, as long as I think it's fine to mention that, how much you played. I think the fact that I couldn't finish this game, it's too boring. I played 20 hours this game. I have no idea how long it is, but I don't care because I'm not going to play it anymore because it's not fun.
Yeah.
I think that's a fine thing to put in a review.
Yeah,
Because I think the fact that you could not will yourself to finish the thing speaks to the quality of the game, at least from
yeah, and then there was a lot of people who were trying to make the comparison over with movies, and how you wouldn't try to review a movie after only watching the first 30 minutes of it. I'm like, no, that's a very different thing, because a movie is only 2 hours long, and watching a movie for 2 hours and then reviewing it is a lot easier than playing a video game for 40 to 60 hours and then reviewing it. I'm sorry, the movie comparison is zilch. There's no comparison there. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, movie, yeah, suck it up and sit through 2 hours. Yeah, but some games are 80 hours long. It's like, oh, you have to play all 80 hours. What if it got really good in the last hour? Well, that's
if an 80-hour game only gets good in that 79th
that
hour,
last hour, though,
it's like, yeah, I don't care. Just give me that last hour in a video game if that's
yeah. Well, it's kind of like Monster Hunter. It's a series I absolutely adore, but I will be honest, the first 5 hours are a slog, and it is a lot to ask of a gamer. It's like, okay, just tough it through the first 5 hours. It's like, why would I want to do that? It's kind of like trying to acquire a taste for coffee or cigarettes or something. It's like, but if I don't like the first cup, why would I want to keep drinking it until I like it? Because it's really rewarding once it gets good.
If you're paid to review games, you better give a good reason for not finishing it.
I'd say it's boring as hell is a good reason for not finishing
it. Yes.
No, if you only play it for 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, if you only play it for 30 minutes and then you write a terrible review, I can understand being upset that somebody would do that. But if somebody plays 20 hours of a 40-hour game and decides that they can't stomach any more of it, I think they did their job. They played enough of it to write a well thought out review of that 20-hour experience.
Yeah. Imagine someone's talking about Alien, but imagine someone with no patience trying to review 2001: A Space Odyssey. They're like, I watched it for 20 minutes, nothing happens. There's like no dialogue.
This guy just walks around a spaceship and eats his paste and watches his iPad. It's like,
wait, there's a guy in it? I didn't even get that far. But actually, 2001 is kind of boring.
It is. It is a long.
There's some great stuff in it.
Yeah, there is a lot of good stuff in it. But yeah, if you're not into that kind of movie, you're not going to enjoy it.
It's kind of like the first Star Trek movie. I actually like a lot about the first Star Trek movie, but holy biscuits, is that movie long and boring.
To be honest,
so many sequences that just go on forever.
I have no memories of the first Star Trek movie, to the point that I question whether I've actually watched it or not. And because I know I've watched The Wrath of Khan and The Search for Spock and the one with the whales and then I've watched the last. What's the one where he goes to the ice prison? I know I've watched that one, but I don't have any memories of the first one. And it's just
you probably blocked it out, or you fell asleep.
I guess it's like I'm pretty sure I've watched it, but I have no mental proof that I watched it. So. One of these days I'll actually buy all the Star Trek movies and just watch them one right after the other. But
the originals or the Generation ones too?
Probably the Generation ones, because there's a few of the Generations one I like. I like First Contact.
First Contact.
Yeah. First Contact is pretty good, but I think all the other ones are all pretty low bar, I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of because there's
Generations is
terrible.
Nemesis was pretty crap. I can't remember what the other one was. Uh,
Because there was the one with the people that had their face pulled back
yeah. Oh
uh,
God, that one's terrible.
yeah,
Although
that one was absolutely
It has
terrible.
F. Murray Abraham in it, which is
Yeah.
always fun. Um, it's interesting. I think I've seen all of the original and Generation movies. I haven't seen any of the. I haven't seen any of the three new ones. The J.J. Abrams
Oh
and
yeah,
whoever the
yeah.
hell did the third one.
Yeah, I've watched the first two. I haven't seen the most recent one. And the first one was pretty good. The second one, I don't know why they decided to redo The Wrath of Khan and then tried to hide the fact that they're remaking The Wrath of Khan because everybody knew they were doing it.
And from
And
what I understand, in the context of the movie, um, Benedict Cumberbatch goes, "I am Khan," and from the context of the movie, everyone's like, "Who the hell is that?" I mean, complete. From again, I
yeah,
haven't seen it, but from what I heard, it's like
yeah, ex-
this only means something to people who saw the original Star Trek 2.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. And it was the movie was just terrible. And they wasted Benedict Cumberbatch,
I
and
hear Beyond is pretty good though. The third one.
yeah, I've heard good things about it, but I just it's not that I'm not interested in watching. It's not like Transformers for me, but it's just when I get around to it, I'll watch it, but I'm not going out of my way to watch it.
Have you seen all the new Star Wars films, Force Awakens and Rogue One?
Yes, I watched Force Awakens and Rogue One. I actually got to see Rogue One in theaters, which was nice.
Yeah.
But Force Awakens, I watched that one rental,
Mm.
and I enjoyed it. They did recycle a lot of elements
Yeah.
from A New Hope, and which was really disappointing. But I, but
Insurrection, yes. Star Trek Insurrection, that one, yes. Thank you.
Insurrection. Yeah, that's the one with the guy
That one
with the
sucks.
face. Yeah, that one did suck, and Nemesis wasn't very good
Nemesis is
either.
all
It's like
right. Yeah.
it was
It's the one with
because
the young Picard, I think.
yeah, it's like the only one who could beat Picard is Picard himself. So we're gonna clone him and make him evil and make him terminally ill for some reason, and it's just like
It's like you have to put a
why?
goatee on him, otherwise he's not evil Picard. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So looking forward to Last Jedi and the Han
Um,
Solo movie, young Han Solo.
um, I don't know. I'm looking forward to episode 8. For
Yeah.
sure. That's
Yeah.
that. I really want to see that.
Yeah, I like the
The
characters.
Han
I want to
Solo
see where they're
movie.
going.
Yeah, the Han Solo movie. I'm not as interested in seeing, but I might go and see it. Like if it gets some good reviews when it comes out, yeah, I'll go and see it. But it's not something that I'm that interested in seeing because I read they actually had a Han Solo trilogy in book form way back when, and I
Mhm.
read those, and those were pretty good. And they were set before A New Hope, and so. But just it was after he met Chewbacca, but before he met Obi-Wan and Luke. So,
Yeah.
but they were very good stories, and I enjoyed them. And the movies are probably going to have nothing to do with those. But
Yeah.
what about you? Are
Uh,
you interested in seeing any of those?
well, it's got a lot of talent behind it. I think it's the same guys who did the Lego movie. Um,
I can't remember on off the
I
top of
think
my
it's those
head.
two guys, and they keep making good movies out of stuff that you don't think are going to be good movies. So, but I'm a mark for Star Wars. So any Star Wars movies, like Star Wars, will really have to start prequel level sucking for me to
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
give up on going to see them. For example, I don't even bother with the DC movies because they're terrible. I saw Man of Steel and I thought it was meh at best.
Mhm.
Batman v Superman looked terrible, so I didn't go to see it. And from what I understand, it is. Oh, I've actually seen some of it. now, and it's terrible. Suicide Squad, I thought could have been good based on the trailers, and then I read about it. I'm like, oh, it sounds terrible, and apparently it is.
Yeah. The trailers are way better than the movie itself, which is a very large disappointment. Wonder Woman, again, the trailers are awesome,
But
but
so were
I'm
Suicide Squad, so
yeah,
I'm waiting
it's
for the
just
I'm waiting
I'm
for the
gonna wait.
reviews. If the reviews are
Yeah,
kind, then I'll say okay. It depends. I mean, it could
yeah,
be a good
yeah,
movie. I'm hoping it's a good movie, but
yeah.
it
It's
actually the latest trailer. It looks like they've redone some of the color grading, at least on Themyscira, to
mhm.
make it less completely washed out and bland and gray looking.
Yeah,
So that's nice to see. Um,
yeah. That was very nice, and so I'm really I'm probably not going to see Wonder Woman in theaters, regardless of the reviews,
hmm,
because I don't have infinite money
yeah.
and infinite time.
Well, I mean,
So,
you've got you got a big family. Going to the theater, bringing everyone with you is like $100. Me, I'm just
oh,
going myself.
well,
So
I wouldn't take the whole family to go see Wonder Woman anyways.
yeah,
It's like when I take the family, we go to the dollar theater and we watch things like Secret Life of Pets.
uh,
It's like I don't take the
uh,
family to go see cool movies,
uh,
but
it's like, God, did you have to go see Boss Baby too?
actually, I went to go
Oh,
see that today. I went on a daddy daughter date with my oldest daughter,
okay.
and she wanted to go see Boss Baby.
It's
So
like,
that's
you know,
in
I love you, but when are you gonna develop some decent taste in film?
it's like as we were walking to the theater, I was like, "So we're gonna go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right?" And and she said, "No, Mom told me that we have to wait until after you guys watch that one before we can watch it." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." And then we bought the tickets, and
Yeah.
we were walking back there, and to the left was Boss Baby, and then down the hallway to the right was Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, "Do you want to sneak over to Guardians of the Galaxy?" And she's like, "That's wrong. That's cheating." And I'm like, "Okay,
Same
fine."
place. But
Um,
yeah, I saw Guardians last week, and I'll probably because I didn't want to wait for my sister to come back, so I'll probably have to go see it again when she's back here next week or the week after. Really liked it. Very good film. Very much enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah, it's been getting really good reviews, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
Hmm.
Um,
But yeah, I agree with the missus. There's because you've got kids of all ages, so there's some stuff in the movie that you probably want to vet first to decide which kids get to see it and which do not.
yeah. Well, all my kids watch the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. We watched
Hmm.
that, and we're like,
Okay.
okay, we've taught them not to use the language that they hear in there, and they know that, and so it's just like,
And
yeah, have
they
fun. It's a
didn't get
fun
overly
movie.
upset when Groot died.
No,
Okay,
because
so
they
yeah,
absolutely love dancing Groot at the end. So
true.
and
Uh,
baby Groot is one of the things they're really looking forward to in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So
yeah.
but yeah, Wonder Woman's definitely going to be a wait for rental for me. Guardians of the Galaxy, if I can make it out to the theaters, I'm going to watch it in theater. Spider-Man is
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
it's going to be a wait for the reviews. And if the reviews are good, I want to see it in theaters. If the reviews are meh, then I'll wait till a rental. But with Marvel actually
It's taking the
taking
creative
creative
brains on it. Yeah,
control, yeah,
Marvel is more than earned the benefit of the doubt for.
yeah,
Me. I mean, like Star Wars, Marvel movies are going to have to seriously start sucking and sucking hard for me to start. Well, I'll
yeah,
wait for the reviews and then decide. No, any Marvel movie that comes, I'm like, all right. Even if it's a character
yeah.
I don't care about, I'll be like, okay, let's
Yeah,
go.
and then we've got Thor Ragnarok coming out
Oh yeah, that looks fun
this
too.
fall, and I'm absolutely in love with it based on the trailers alone,
Hmm.
and I don't care what the reviews are. I'm gonna go see that one in the theaters
Yeah,
because Thor and Hulk doing a buddy movie is just the best thing
and
ever,
it's got
and
Jeff
it's like
Goldblum in it.
yeah, it's got Jeff Goldblum, but that scene in the trailer where Thor's getting pushed out into the arena,
Yeah.
and then they announce it, and he's just all like, "Oh God, what am I gonna
Yes.
do?" And they announce it's the Hulk, and he's like, "All right, I work with this guy." And
He's
it's
a
just like,
friend from work.
it's the that scene
That's
is
so
just
great.
awesome. I love it, and
Yeah.
so
I'm
yeah,
really one of the things I'm noticing is especially in the Thor movies is in the very first Thor movie, one of the first Thor comes in and he's all twirling his hammer, but he has his winged hat and he never wears it again. And I was like, and you think, well, okay, the winged hat's gonna be stupid, but it looks good, and then he
yeah,
never wears it again, and that was disappointing. Uh, Hela, it looks like she has the big headpiece
yeah, the big
thing,
antlers and stuff.
but it
Yeah,
looks like she probably just has it once and then takes it off, and it's just her hair's down. I'm like, and even Loki, he had the big horned hat like once in the Avengers, and then he got rid of it because it was heavy and hurting his neck. I'm like, it's amazing that they're actually doing the comet accurate headgear, except for Scarlet Witch. I want that weird
yeah,
thing
the
that goes
weird
on her head.
pointy thing. Yeah, well, they didn't do comic accurate Hawkeye either,
Well,
so
that's true.
yeah.
That probably would be stupid looking because
Yes, it would
that
be.
looks dumb in the comics.
Yes, it does.
It's like if it looks stupid in the comics, it's probably not going to translate to
Yeah.
screen very well.
And then Iron Fist. They didn't even bother trying to do a nod to the original costume, and or
Except in that like like archival footage of Vietnam or something where you saw an Iron Fist.
but it's just like I was waiting
Basically,
for
he
the
just had
scene, and
the head thing with the long flowing scarf.
yeah,
I'm like, that looks good. Let's watch that movie.
yeah,
Anything other than Danny
exactly.
Rand, really.
But the closest we ever got to seeing Danny Rand in an Iron Fist costume was when he was complaining about being the gate guardian, and he was wearing the yellow and green robes, and you could see
Yeah, yes,
half of the tattoo and stuff, and it was just like, that's not even close to being a
no,
nod to the original or
barely.
to his iconic costume.
I mean, at least
So,
Luke Cage found a way to work the original costume in a bit.
yeah, Luke Cage and then Jessica Jones had the little
You never
nod to
see her in the suit,
Jewel.
but it's like, hey, she's like,
Yeah.
I'm not wearing that. No.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's enough podcast. We're just jibber jabbering now. So I'm gonna go blow my nose over and over and eat dinner. So probably simultaneously. Always fun to have it running close when you're trying to shovel things in your face.
Yeah.
All right, so Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is how you spell the last name. Plug it into YouTube. You'll find my YouTube videos, including my current series debut review, which looks at the first episode of new anime shows, and is going to bring down the entire medium of anime, apparently. And you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen. So Zachary, plug away.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, where I talk about random things every once in a while. Politics, games, whatever. You can follow my game development work, DK_gaming and divineknightgaming.com. I'm working on some games right now, and I should have stuff posted at some point. And then finally, if you're interested in the Oakland game development scene, I'm actually getting back into writing stuff on there. And you can check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. So
All right. That's it for us. Thank you all for keeping us company this fine evening. Remember to call your moms tomorrow because it's Mother's Day.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it. My sister had to remind me of that. So I'm glad she did because I honestly never would have remembered. So happy to pass it on. All right. See y'all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.